going on, everybody? This is Bryan Tann, and this is the first episode numero uno of the Tanndemonium Sports Show. And with me today is my co-host, my new bud, Jackson Law. Jack, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. Happy to be here. Let's do this thing.
All
Make
right,
this the next big show.
I'm all for it. And what's funny is, well, obviously you guys don't know because you guys don't even know who the hell I am. You guys are familiar with Jackson at this point. I happened to come in because I saw Jackson's awesome series on Maximum Football 2020. Was it Vendetta U?
Yeah.
He had me ready to get in trouble and break the budget and get the game already, but it's like, nah, I gotta wait. But it looks awesome. I mean, so how's Maximum Football 2020 treating you so far?
It's pretty good. We talked about it a little bit, not to spoil it too much. I'll have a video dropping today. There's been a small update with Vendetta University. If you pay attention on Twitter, if you follow Doug Flutie's Maximum Football 2020 or Canuck Play or any one of the 5 developers, which surprises me that they were able to get as good of a game that they have, which is 5 developers. It's freaking nuts. EA's got billions of dollars and hundreds of devs, and they still roll out the same shit that they do every year. Right? Yeah. But there's been a small snag. But so watch that video. That'll come out on YouTube. It may be out by the time. It probably will be out by the time that this podcast is out. Nice. But other than that, it's been really fun, and for $30, it's definitely worth it.
Nice. What's fun? Did you hear that? I happened to find this out today, and this isn't exactly what I wanted to lead on, but it's sort of how we went. Did you hear that EA opened up their forums to listen to the community for people to tell EA what they want? Did you hear about that?
You mean the thing that they used to have all the way back in like 2009, 2010, when they got pissed off when people were complaining about the game? Yeah, because I was a part of a forum about 2 years ago that got shut down for NCAA 14 because I was playing a lot of NCAA 14 up until recently, and then my Xbox 360s not that reliable. It breaks, the game breaks. Anyone that had a 360 back in the day knows, and it's my original 360. So it has provided me service, and it finally laid to rest after like 12 years. Whoever was the community manager at the time was getting super pissed because the custom teams was not working, the website that they had. It was such an old website because this is like 2018, 2019. It's a website from 2013 that they haven't updated probably since 2013.
Yeah.
So it was a shit show trying to get it to work and get it to save, and finally they just shut the whole thing down. So yeah. I'm not gonna give them any credit for something that they should have done and should have kept doing.
I'm not either. I mean, I went on there today and I told them what I wanted. It's like, look, man, y'all got to go back to the well with y'all franchise mode. How is your franchise mode amazing 10, 15, 18 years ago? And now it's just the same rehash crap for the last 6 years straight at this point?
It blows my mind going back and seeing some of the stuff. I have another series that's kind of been on pause just because it takes forever to get it recorded. But I have at least 4 episodes out right now, I think, of an NFL 2K5 franchise mode, which 2K5 is considered the greatest football game of all time. Anyone that's played it knows that it's up there. It still holds out really well.
It does.
In
2020.
2020, yeah.
15 years later, it is still the.
Bro, I am talking about at halftime. I'm seeing Chris Berman's face. He's giving me updates. He's showing me replays. And then when the week finishes, when I simulate the rest of the week after my games, I can watch like a 10-minute Sports Center that generates highlights of other teams playing. It blows my mind. And then EA is like, we're not even going to do
we're not even going to try.
We can't do the coin toss anymore because, it takes up too much memory, and, we got to save that. We got to save that space for a new card that we're going to release that you're going to have to pay $30 to try to get.
Yeah, it's bullshit, and it's once again it falls under the whole cusp of evil corporation. We have no competition, so what do we care? You want to talk about who? I remember when EA first signed that exclusivity deal with the NFL, and I remember hearing people in early days of the internet, "Oh man, 2K's getting screwed." No, the fans are getting screwed.
Mm-hmm.
2K will be fine. 2K dealt a knockout blow to EA with NBA Live essentially going in the toilet. Because
Mm-hmm.
NBA Live used to be an awesome series, and once it went to the toilet, I haven't even played an NBA Live game in, well, most people haven't, in years. If I'm playing basketball, I'm playing 2K.
Yeah, I think the last NBA Live they released was like 2 or 3 years ago because it had Joel Embiid on the cover, and it
Yeah,
was awful.
yeah, I hated it. I had no fun with that. Every time I played it, I'm like, huh, why aren't I playing 2K again? No,
Exactly. I only
seriously.
played it because I have the EA Play service or whatever it's
Same here.
called.
EA
So
Access. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
EA
the only
Access. So they
reason
just
why I
put it on
downloaded
there.
it. Yep, same here. That's what I do with Madden. I won't buy Madden anymore, ever again. I haven't bought a Madden game since EA Access first became a thing. So that lets you know how long it's been since I bought a
Yeah,
Madden game.
last Madden that I bought was like 3 years ago, 17 or 18, whatever that one would have been.
Shit, you're better than me. But no, I'm serious. Like, EA definitely needs to go back to the well. I remember what was the sportscast? What was the sports talk show? Remember the one a couple of years? It was the sports talk show that went on in the background where it wasn't all music. It was a sports talk show, and then they had interviews. What was that guy's name? It wasn't Jim Rome, but it was Tony something.
Was it
Tony?
Tony Reale?
No, not Tony Reale.
No, I
Um,
can't remember.
Let me see. Let me go to back to Madden 10. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to my Google machine. What
I know
sports
what you're talking about.
show was on Madden NFL football? Because it's gonna bother me until I find out the guy's name. I can't remember his name, but I know he had a show, and it was because of that show that I started I started listening to that show because of that guy's radio because on there. Oh, it's not telling me, and it's driving me nuts. I know his name was Tony something. It wasn't Tony Reale. He had a more grown-up guy name, if that makes sense. He didn't sound like a young kid. He sounded like a grown-up dude. I can't remember his name, but they need to go back to something like that because it's like every year. The only difference is that it's a roster update and it's a change to the goo. It's a change to like the overall aesthetic of like the start screen and all that.
Yeah, yeah. They just changed the color in the UI.
Right, and it drives me absolutely crazy. Let me see. That's the commentary stuff. Tell you the truth, though, I'm glad that there's no Chris Collinsworth anymore because that guy's voice just like ugh. Maybe it's because I'm from Pittsburgh. That's why I'm not a Chris Collinsworth guy. But
Ah,
every time I hear his voice, it's just like, ugh. Why? I remember. Did you ever watch Inside the NFL on HBO back in the
yeah.
day?
Hmm.
I loved Inside the NFL, and then here comes Chris Collinsworth, and it's like, why? But anyway, so that wasn't what I wanted to lead the show off with, but I think it's kind of fun to. I'm always up for bashing EA Sports. I'm always up for it. Now, if the
Oh, we are
massive,
too.
oh, I'm a huge on it. Well, we are, yeah. Now, I am going to be on board if they re-release the Mass Effect trilogy with all DLC remastered. I'm on
Same.
board. I'm all board for that. I'm totally on board for that. Like I actually resisted rebuying any of the DLC because I had it on PlayStation 3 and I
Hmm.
had all of it. Go back to Xbox and I'm trying to play the stuff again. It's like, just doesn't feel complete.
Yeah. No, you need the DLC.
Yep. But then again, that's on EA as well. How are you going to give me like a quarter of a game? Seriously? Like I'm all about, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can get us a graphic made. Anytime we talk about EA, it's just gonna be a fist punching the logo. They annoy me so much. But that wasn't what we had originally talked about leading off this this flagship inaugural episode of the Tanndemonium Sports Show. I was nervous when you decided to come on and do the show with me, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna have stuff to talk about. And then a bunch of NFL games are postponed. My Steelers game is postponed for later date and all that. I'm like, oh, come on. What am I going to talk about? What are we going to discuss? And then here come the Houston Texans. Thank you, Houston Texans. You know, not all heroes wear capes, Jackson. Not all heroes wear capes. The Houston Texans, folks, have finally had enough. Bill O'Brien, out, gone. I'm pretty sure it's 100% true on everyone's part. Bill O'Brien's firing is a good thing. Yeah? We on board?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know some people just hearing about over the weekend when the firing came down. People were talking about how, he got them to the playoffs 4 out of 6 years. Yeah, but there was no growth whatsoever. When you've got a young quarterback like Deshaun Watson and you have players like Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, you are supposed to get better. You are supposed to be at minimum a 10-win team, and 10 wins is good enough to win what used to be the worst division in the NFL. That mantle has moved to the NFC East now, because that is a
dumpster fire beyond dumpster fires.
You win 5 games and you're going to win the division and get a playoff spot. It's nuts.
It's insane. It's insane.
I'm just like, what took them so long? Like, when Deshaun Watson signed his massive extension this past offseason, I know nothing's guaranteed in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson already has gone through one significant leg injury in his rookie season. It was a fantastic rookie season, but it was cut short because I believe it was a torn ACL. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't.
I do believe you're right.
But which is a funny story. I remember that because a friend of mine back in college, we were walking back from lunch, and he was winning our fantasy league because he had Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson got injured, and he just kind of collapsed on the sidewalk outside of where the cafeteria was at, and we just kind of left him there for a few minutes.
Sometimes you just got to let a man lay in his grief. Man.
I know, man. Bro, that's me with our fantasy league right now. I finally won a game.
So are you guys like in the league on that FX show, The League? Are you guys like that? Are you that bad? Do you like have a loser trophy and a winner trophy and all that?
No, we usually make the loser like do something stupid. I don't know. This is kind of brand new. This is the first time we've done a fantasy league. Most of us here haven't been together that long, but we've been growing. Anyway, back to the original story. I chase rabbit trails. Way.
I do too, and I'm actually looking. I'm looking up your injury thing as well. So you go.
Yeah. But I know nothing's guaranteed, and I know he signed his contract, and he got a huge bag when he signed his contract. But I was like, Deshaun, man, that's not the place for you. I said, as long as Bill O'Brien is there, even if he got fired this year, thinking this before he got fired, which thank God they fired him.
Right.
The damage that he has done to that team, they are going to waste the next 2 to 3 years of Watson's talent. And
they really
and it's not but because they don't have anyone around him now. They don't have high draft picks. They are 0-4 right now. And their first round and second round draft pick belongs to my Miami Dolphins from the Tunsil and Stills trade that happened just a little while ago. I can't remember if that was a year or two ago.
I think it was this offseason. I think
it may have been this offseason, but either way, Tunsil's been Stills is They were with the Dolphins. They're going to be with the Texans, and I just do not understand. I know it's beating the dead horse over and over again, but I'm gonna beat it just one more time, and then I'm gonna be done with Bill O'Brien. Why the hell do you get rid of Jadeveon Clowney and DeAndre Hopkins, especially DeAndre Hopkins? Hopkins was the best player on that team, not named Deshaun Watson. You see how well Kyler Murray has looked.
He's got Kyler Murray. He's got Kyler Murray looking like the future, like Tom Brady.
Yeah, and that's what Deshaun Watson looked like when he had DeAndre Hopkins.
I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when the Steelers were down in Houston, and Deshaun Watson just throws the Hail Mary up into the end zone, And here comes DeAndre Hopkins. He comes down with it. And I wanted to go, and I'm like, no, he got it. Yeah. I mean, the fact that Deshaun Hopkins is gone for nothing, he should be. O'Brien should have been fired. I almost called him Bill O'Reilly. O'Brien, but you know what? I'm pretty sure with a lot of people, he's held at just about that standard.
Oh, probably, especially some of the comments that he's made in the past.
Yeah, there's no way.
Which is what led to him and Hopkins, having beef with each other.
Right.
But you still don't trade him. You figure out how to make that work. You got arguably the number one receiver in the league.
Right.
There's other people that may like other ones, but I love Hopkins. Like I said, arguably the best receiver in the league. You make that work.
You do. You don't have to love each other. You do have to work together.
Exactly.
Period. And the fact that you gave away now, he's easily top 10. I'll even throw him top 5 of the wide receivers in the NFL today. You don't give the top 5 wide receiver in the NFL today away for nothing. The smartest thing that O'Brien did in that regard is that he sent him to the other conference. I'm pretty sure if he would have traded him in division, not just in conference, but in division, he would have been fired. But now Bill O'Brien got to live another day for the first month of the NFL season. Now he's gone. Do you think he gets picked up soon, or do you think he stays unemployed for a little while?
I think he will stay unemployed for the rest of this season. I like the other more than likely coaching vacancies that you think of. The one that instantly comes to mind is Patricia with the Lions. I think he's going to be gone. He probably won't be gone this week, but if they lose again this coming week, then it's definitely he's gone by
midseason.
He is gone by midseason. I don't feel like anyone would hire him midseason. I feel like teams would try to stay in-house to finish out the year. But my advice to GMs or to ownerships would be stay away from him unless he's like a low-level coordinator. I wouldn't want him making decisions, especially at what he was, where he was the coach and the GM. He doesn't need to touch that for, if not ever, then for a very, very long time. Not until the 2030s does he need to be considered for another head coaching job if we haven't all been wiped out by another pandemic by then.
Wow. Jackson Law laying it down. He said Bill O'Brien don't get to be GM until the next decade. Damn.
No, he doesn't get to be considered for an interview for a GM or head coach until then. I'd stay away from him. He ruined the Texas franchise for the next 5 years. It's gonna take one hell of a job from whoever steps into that position next. And if someone is able to turn that franchise around in 5 years, then they may be the greatest head coach and GM duo of all time.
I agree, and what sucks, I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. At least he's gonna have that money to fall back on, because he's not gonna have a lot of gridiron glory unless he flexes some muscle. And well, they're not. The only way that they're gonna get rid of him is if he turns into an Antonio Brown and gets booted out. And by then, he's gonna have to refix his image a lot. So you don't think the New York Jets might give Billy O'Brien a call after they get rid of Adam Gase? Because he's another one that shouldn't even have a job in the NFL.
Take it from a Dolphins fan. No, our nickname for him is the Gase of Hell. That is what we call him in the Slack. Site editor Andrew. I don't know if you've gotten to talk to Andrew yet, but he's a big Jets fan. And he is learning firsthand the heartbreak that it is. He is supposed to be this big quarterback guru, and poor Sam Darnold, man. Like a lot of us on the site, we still believe in Sam Darnold. He literally probably has the worst team. It is a contest between them and their other New York counterpart, the Giants, on who has the worst team and who could possibly make a run at Trevor Lawrence, which is who I think the Giants would probably take. They don't need to stick with Jones. They need to, although I'd hate that for Trevor Lawrence, because I want to see him go to a better run franchise. I don't want to see a good young quarterback just get driven into the ground, kind of like what has happened with Sam Darnold and a dysfunctional franchise. But I don't know how Adam Gase did it. He did make Ryan Tannehill better, but it took Ryan Tannehill leaving him to become a better quarterback, to the point where Tennessee is undefeated right now, which they were supposed to play your Steelers this week.
And I was excited for that because I wanted to see Tannehill go up against the Steelers again, because the last time he's played the Steelers, he was with the Dolphins, and that was a brutal ass game.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard hitting game, and he proved that he was a tough dude.
Oh, he is a tough dude. It's just unfortunate that things never. Miami's not a great run franchise either.
No,
and we just haven't had good head coaches. But I like Brian Flores. I think he can break the streak of Belichick followers. From that tree, from that dynasty. I think he could be one of the first ones or one of the few ones that kind of becomes successful and isn't like all the other ones that have just put up goose eggs, and after 2 seasons they're not a head coach anymore.
Yeah, because here's the problem. And the interim coach of the interim head coach of the Houston Texans is another guy who was a product of the Belichickian system. That's a Romeo Crennel. You remember him? Laid the goose egg in Cleveland. Like, that's hard. And in Kansas City before he went back to being a coordinator and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I'm going back to the Houston Texans for a second before we jump back to the AFC East. And I'm actually glad you brought that up. What do you think? Do you think Houston, what's the over-under of Houston maybe finishing 500?
Man, it's low, I would say. They did have a pretty tough schedule, but I mean, with a competent coach who doesn't make the idiotic trades that he has, you're competitive in those games, more competitive than what you were. The Vikings are awful this year. Even with the terrible team, you still should have beaten them. I mean, Gardner Minshew freaking tore up that Vikings defense.
Gardner Minshew, man, that mustache creeps me out. It really does.
I've got some funny stories about him because I got connections to people that are like kind of near the organization, which it's stuff that's already come out where he's okay. So another sidetracking story here. It's come out. It's come out in the past before, but like players have talked about how like he would basically work out naked in front of everyone. Just
why? Oh my God! That
asserting his dominance, I guess. I don't know. He has a strange man.
Homeboy must really want a staph infection.
He's 100% a frat boy.
Ugh.
I bet he got lit in college.
Do you think I think Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield might be like long lost twin brothers or something, because they both have that
probably
that frat boy.
Country frat boy twang kind of thing going on. It's like the college that I went to. There is thousands of them literally walking across campus.
That's hilarious. But I mean, hey, he's pulling the Tommy Maddox down there, man. I'll give him credit, man.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to say when I said Gardner Minshew tore up the Vikings. I didn't mean to. I secretly like Gardner Minshew. Secretly,
I do want him to be a good quarterback.
He's honestly like the only reason why, because Jacksonville is obviously trying to tank, and he is refusing to let them tank. So there's something there. He's got something there.
And that's what I want out of my quarterback. You're supposed to be the leader of this team. The guy doesn't have a lot of weapons, and they got rid of Leonard Fournette, which I thought was a idiotic move, but it is what it is. He's gone. They have their receiving core isn't really. It's not really major from what I understand, but I guess the Vikings defense made it look great. But I seriously think, jumping back to the Texans, I think you're right. It's going to be difficult for them to get to 500. I think they're probably going to be. I think they're a 3-win team, and that's a shame, because
I was going to give them 5 wins, but man, yeah, that's tough. I mean, I could see it going anyway.
Top 3, the top 3 picking teams, and no, the Texans gave away their draft pick, right?
Yeah, to yours truly and his Dolphins. So of course I'm gonna root for your pick and say that they're only gonna win 3 games, because there's a good chance we got a top 5 pick or top 7 pick with that. And
there you go.
We don't need Trevor Lawrence because we got Tua. Although I hope it doesn't turn into a situation where it's like we got the Clyde Drexler, and so we don't take him, and the Michael Jordan, we pass on him. Like I really hope that's not the case.
That is such a great story too. For those of you that are too young to understand that, and I'm probably, I don't want to say I'm one of the few, but I was alive when that happened. I was too young to know what was going on, but I was around for that. Yeah, the Portland Trailblazers had Clyde Drexler, and they're like, well, we don't need this Jordan kid. Let's take Michael Bowie. Yeah. And the Bulls are like, yes. Well, he just went about and won 6 championships. Arguably the greatest basketball player to ever live. Second only to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. For those of you who don't know who Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. You know what? We're going to I segue a lot. You and I both seem to do that. One of the things that we were talking about, everybody, was it's going to take a couple of episodes for us to really get our footing to what the show's going to be about. And this is what it's about. It's about sports talk. We're talking about the stories that are in right now, but then we're going to segue into other things. I think that makes a good conversation. Top 5 NBA players. You got 5?
Top 5 NBA players. Yeah.
All
time. Okay, so no particular order in this, but obviously I'm going to say MJ, Kareem. We'll go Magic. Have to put LeBron up there.
Okay.
Number 5 is tricky because I'm thinking, and it's going to be, I'm going to forget someone's name and someone's going to make an argument. I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. But honestly, for that top 5 spot, I have to put Wilt there.
The Stilt. Okay. I was hoping you wouldn't forget Wilt the Stilt.
No, I didn't forget Wilt. It was kind of coming down to like what I wanted to put in there, so I didn't know like how high I wanted to put Larry. I didn't know how high I wanted to put someone like Shaq or Kobe or Tim. And there's a great argument for Kobe to be in that top 5.
Absolutely.
So that 5th spot honestly is really tough.
Really
depending on the mood I'm in. Depending
right.
on the mood I'm in is who gets that 5th spot.
I hear you. My top 5: Kareem, Jordan, Magic. We're on par right there. Then I'm gonna go with Kobe, and this is gonna be crazy, but hear me out. I'm gonna round out with Rodman, Dennis Rodman. The guy was a defensive stud for so many years. How are you 6'7", 6'8"? You're able to guard everybody on the floor and out-rebound everybody on the floor. The man had what I like to call unmeasurables, and it's that work ethic, man. He didn't care. So that's why he's in my top 5 all time. You don't need to be a scorer to be among the best of the best. You don't have to be.
I appreciate defense more than anyone. I'm a big Grizzlies fan. And so the greatest era in Grizzlies history, which of course it's like the only era besides the awful era that we went through before then, but I was too young to really know. But the grit and grind era, which was brought about by Tony Allen. He wasn't a great scorer, but even Kobe has said like he was the toughest defender that he ever went up against. And then I like when I played basketball, I was, I'm, 5'8", so I was always like the shortest dude out there. But I always tried to play defense. That was my one thing. I was a pest. That's what I want to do. So I appreciate defense more than anyone. Even though I would disagree with that, because I think to be in like really up there, with the greatest, you've got to have rounded out at everything. But I'm not gonna fault someone if that if you want to elevate Rodman, because he arguably could be the greatest or one of the top 3 or 4 rebounders in the game, and was essential in the Bulls making those some of those title runs. He was like kind of that final missing piece, especially after Horace Grant left. And then obviously when Jordan came back, met the Magic in the playoffs, which was a great Magic team that I do not know how they didn't win a championship with young Shaq, with Grant and T-Mac.
Penny.
Penny, not T-Mac. Penny. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm getting my eras mixed up here.
It's that happens as you get older, and then you got a little one, so it's only going to get worse. Trust me.
Yeah, for real. But I don't understand how. But again, I don't know how that trio did not win.
Neither
do I. They beat MJ and the Bulls because they didn't have that guy. And you got to give a lot of credence for Rodman, because he was that guy for the Pistons, and he was that guy for the Bulls.
Exactly. And I mean, and I get not needing to round it out, and that totally makes sense. But see, Karl Malone will never be on any of my lists ever.
Yeah,
like he'll be on the list for rat catcher maybe. You know what? Fine. Let Karl Malone coach the Houston Texans. There we go. Let Karl Malone do it. Why not? He's an asshole. So with that, but one thing before we put the Bill O'Brien thing to bed, there's one person that is quoted by saying it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Can you guess who that was?
I don't know.
Tom Brady.
Huh.
Yeah. This is what he said. This is courtesy of the Patriots Wire on USA Today. Quote, "That was really tough to see. I've known Billy a long time. I think he is a hell of a coach. I think he does a great job. He has great leadership ability, and it's a very difficult part of the profession. I've thought he's done a great job in Houston over the years. Those guys really seem to love playing for him." Then continues on. "It's always tough when you see that happen, especially 4 games into the year. 4 weeks ago, everyone was so hopeful about what the season could become. You hate to see things transpire as they do. To lose a coach 4 games into the season doesn't make a lot of sense to me." End quote. Oh, Tom. Oh,
well,
Tom.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this about Tom here. If people consider Tom Brady the greatest of all time as the quarterback, then if he's following in the footsteps of Michael Jordan here of being like so great, this is his the Bucks are his Wizards, and he's just as good of a GM and office and front office guy as Jordan has been with Charlotte. So
damn. Whoo! Jay Law is just coming out with haymakers episode 1, man.
Bro, that's what we do. That's what we do here at Vendetta, man. You should see some of the stuff we write. We go at it.
Oh, well,
the name of the site is Vendetta, so
yeah,
we do a lot of hating on here.
Well, hey, man, throw some stuff on there. There might be people like me that are still novices to this. I'm the new guy. I'm the one just coming in. So kick some knowledge out there for those that might be uninitiated.
About Vendetta?
About Vendetta, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's people that know, but there's always going to be people like me that just happen to stumble on because they catch something they like.
I mean, we're just, we don't deal with bullshit on here, and we don't beat around the bush. We're straight to the point. We love, I don't want to say like drama is not the right word, because we don't manufacture drama or anything. But we love it when people have opposing takes, and then it's like in the group, and then to watch them hash it out in articles. That's always fun, or on podcasts. And it's fun. It's fun. We're not afraid to get our hands dirty on Twitter sometimes too. So, but yeah, it's some of the greatest sporting content out there.
See, I'm gonna be an oddball because see, here's my thing. I hate fighting over social media because it literally feels like, now keep in mind, I've been hit in the head a lot from MMA, from boxing, and just bashing my head in the lockers and walls as a kid. When I'm on social media, and it comes time to like argue a person, as soon as someone just starts seeming real like confrontational, I'm just like, and I'm checking out because none of this is worth it to me. Like if we got big enough with this show that people be like, oh, you guys are stupid, blah blah blah. It'd be you're the one that's fighting. I'm just like, yeah. Like I'll probably come on the show and shit talk, but I'm not going to shit talk on. I'll shit talk on the show because it's my platform to shit.
But any time that people come at us, they're just like, oh, you guys are haters. Oh, you guys are stupid. Fuck you guys. Because that happened because Trey and I, we have this thing on YouTube, which, subscribe to the YouTube if you're not subscribed. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks. Or if you're listening to it somewhere else, awesome. But we do what's called NBA Shorts. And, it's Trey's thing. And so he'll have some of us from the site on there from time to time. And him and I did one about the Houston Rockets and basically how they're not going to win a title. And especially with Russell Westbrook on there.
They're really not.
Trey is the biggest Russell Westbrook hater out there that you will ever see. And it's really funny to read the slacks whenever Westbrook is mentioned at all. But yeah, that's basically what it was.
Matter of fact, all right, I want to see what this is. I've got my phone here right now. I named my phone Betsy Ann. I'm going to go in the general and I'm going to say, you know what, Trey? I think Russell Westbrook, I just want to get his GOAT because I'm the new guy, is one of the greatest point guards in the NBA of the past 15 years. I just want to see what he's going to say. And I'm going to make sure I tag him in it as well.
Yeah, do it. I've got it up on my computer right here. So this,
and I want
it just popped
yep,
up.
I just see. I'll do little stuff like that. I like stirring the pot. See, I'm scared. I'll stir the pot and then just step aside.
Yeah, this is gonna definitely be interesting to see.
He's gonna be like, "What? You're fired. I don't even want you."
I'm just gonna look on here and see that Bryan was removed from the general.
Your show's canceled. You're fired. Oh,
get out of here.
He's typing. He's typing. I'm excited. I'm so excited. Right? You spelled worse wrong. I love it. I love it. I don't even like Russell Westbrook. I just like to bust people's balls. Honestly, I agree 100%. Russell Westbrook, and actually, I did want to segue into the NBA Finals, but I agree with Trey completely. The Russell Westbrook is not a team guy, and if you're not a team guy, you don't win. All right, that's great. You can average a triple-double. Good for you. But the greats don't do all that. Like we just talked about Michael Jordan. You know what made Michael Jordan great is that he didn't have to. He did everything when he had to. Mm-hmm. When he had to do it all the time, they lost. They didn't start getting success until they got Pippen. And Pippen took a lot of that brunt from him. And then when you had Grant and B.J. Armstrong and John Paxson and Bill Cartwright, who Jordan wasn't happy about coming over because one of the guys they got rid of that brought Cartwright over was Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
Jordan didn't have to do everything. He still did the majority of the scoring, but he passed the ball off at times as well. Westbrook doesn't do that. Hell, James Harden doesn't do that. I mean, it's no. Guys like LeBron knows how the game's supposed to be played. And I hated on LeBron a lot back in the day. I'm not going to lie. I did. Mm-hmm. I was especially anti-LeBron when he made the decision.
The decision, yeah.
I was especially anti-LeBron with that because I was hoping he'd go to the Bulls. But, because I'm a Bulls fan. But he knows how to make guys around him better. Westbrook doesn't do that. Harden doesn't do that. Nah, if Houston wants to win something, they're going to have to blow it up and start all over again. The best chance Houston had at winning everything died when Yao Ming's feet decided not to work anymore.
Yeah, or when Chris Paul got hurt when they were up against the Warriors a few years back.
Yeah. And the
Like
Warriors,
that was it.
yeah. And I'm glad the Warriors aren't the big bad anymore. I'm glad the Warriors are finally been knocked down a couple of pegs.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be interesting to see once Clay and Steph are back. They've got a top pick in the draft too, which is it almost seems unfair. You know that
It really is.
they go from all this success, all these championships, all of this, some of the one of the greatest runs in recent NBA history, to immediately the next year,
Garbage.
their two big guys go down, they're garbage, and they do amazingly in the lottery, and so they're either going to get a top pick, or they're going to find a way to trade back and acquire more assets for the future, which is basically what you want to do. And I'm never going to fault, which that's also kind of a stroke of luck on their part, but also kudos to their management that if they're able to pull something off, they can set themselves up for the future as well as continuing to compete, even if they may not be the best team anymore.
Right. And I'll tell you the truth, when I say that doesn't mean I dislike the Warriors. I just like to see other teams have a chance. Like I love Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr played for my Bulls back when I was in high school, man. I love Steve Kerr because he was the dude that came. Him and Tony Kukoc, man. I love those guys. I thought they were awesome. But it's just, and I don't dislike Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is a once in a lifetime talent. I think that he's done enough to argue for a spot in the top 5. It's just going to be hard, very hard, because he's more of a scorer. I like my I like my point guards to distribute. That's what I like. Yeah. I like distributing point guards, and I like point guards that can D up. That's what I enjoy. That's why I like Magic. But it is what it is. But I'll tell you the truth, though. Segueing over here to the NBA right now, I think game 4 is tonight?
Yep.
Game 4 is tonight.
Real quickly,
all right.
Transition to my from my headphones to my charger. My phone was fixing to die.
That's cool. Hey,
you can see how prepared I was for this today.
Oh, me too. It's all good. What's funny is that we decided to throw the show together last week. We touched on it a little bit when we first started. I saw your video, and then I reached out because I wanted to get involved with, Vendetta, and Trey just goes, "All right, cool. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to do a sports talk show because that's what I do." He goes, "All right. Well, you going to talk about yourself?" No, I don't do that. I can talk about myself with just me just fine. But if I'm going to do it for a show, I need someone else. And then, so this is literally just thrown together. I mean, if anybody ever knows.
It'll be more organized. We'll get it together as it goes along. But I think the episode's going good.
I think so too. I think we've had some good discussion, some good a lot of good dialogue on stuff, and we come off like we know what we're talking about. So I'll take it. All right, so finals, game 4, Lakers are up 2-1. Can the Heat hold out for at least one more game to help make this more competitive? Do you think Jimmy Butler can hold this team on his shoulders?
I mean, I think he can. I picked the Lakers to win in 6. That was my prediction. So I obviously think the Heat were going to get at least 2. The big thing that happened last game was limiting the effectiveness of Anthony Davis. They kept him off the court, kept him in foul trouble, and that was the big thing. He played 33 minutes compared to LeBron playing 39, almost 40 minutes. And talking about this in the Slack, I thought that the key to this series for the Lakers was that LeBron and AD both needed to play at least 40 minutes each game. You've had the big Rona break, so you're obviously you were
legs
well
are rested
jumping into the bubble, and then you've had enough games with the 8 seeding games and the at least dozen or so games that you've played in your other series to get to this point, maybe and actually be more so than that, to get here. So they're in game shape and they're in a flow, and
Right.
so there's no excuse that there should be any, that they should be tired.
Right.
Look tired at some points, and then LeBron, of course, obviously super pissed off and acting a little bit like a crybaby, just walks off the court last night before the game even finished. Or
he did about pulling Isaiah Thomas, didn't he?
Yeah. And, at least Isaiah Thomas, it was the series was over. We still got the game left for this.
Right. Right.
But the biggest news though, and I believe that has been confirmed, that Bam is coming back for
Bam!
I
love that guy.
As Kendrick Perkins, he tried to say Bam out of Bayou, but he said Bam out of the Bayou. so that's what I'm gonna start calling him now. Bam out of the Bayou.
So he's Swamp Thing.
Yeah, he is Swamp Thing. That is
an
all right.
awesome
We're gonna start calling him Swamp Thing.
Yep.
That's Bam's new nickname around here. Swamp Thing.
Thing.
Heard it here first. But he's back, and even though he didn't really have a great first game with AD, that first game, it's kind of like in a fight, where you're trying to figure out the fighter. You're not trying to land that killing blow. You're testing the reach, you're testing the reaction, you're just kind of getting a feel for everyone, and that's round one. That's what game one of the NBA Finals is. It's a key game because it could be a tone setter, but it's not the end of the world. We've seen LeBron lose the first game plenty of times and end up winning 4 straight and winning the series 4-1. It's just all about figuring out what the other team is about. So I'm not going to fault Bam, especially after the great postseason that he's had coming into this game. Now I do think Dragic is still out for tonight, and that does hurt them a little bit, I think, because he's been one of the most consistent and better players on that team. But Jimmy Butler, I've been a Butler fan. I think just that the Timberwolves, the Minnesota players, they're just a bunch of pussies that could not handle Jimmy. And the same thing with Philly. But he's a dog, and I love him, man.
I wish he was still with the Bulls, man. I really do.
I know. He was a killer with the Bulls. If he would have just stuck around, and if D Rose had stayed healthy, you could only imagine.
If Derrick Rose would have stayed healthy, there would have been at least one championship.
The Bulls would have been back to greatness. I don't care what anyone else says.
I agree. So I'm looking up here on Yahoo News right now, and this is courtesy of. This is from today. It doesn't have a time. This is from the Miami Herald. Yep. Swamp Thing and Gordon You see, Swamp Thing is going to be back for Game 4. Says he is planning to play after missing the previous 2 games with a strained neck. That's from Adrian Wojnarowski. Whatever. Dragic is still listed as doubtful. He's got that torn muscle in his foot. And honestly, unless he's getting some shots, I don't see him getting into the game tonight.
No, I don't think so either. And usually, if they're listed as questionable, they may get into the game. Doubtful, that's just kind of injury logo that he's not going to be available tonight.
Right.
Even if they say he's a game time decision, if he is doubtful, unless 20, 30 minutes before tip off, he is upgraded to questionable, then I'm just going to believe that he's out tonight, and they're going to have to roll pretty much with Kendrick Nunn as a backup.
Kendrick Nunn. I don't even know that name. I have none knowledge on this fella.
He finished third in Rookie of the Year voting.
Oh, yeah?
He started all 65 games, but then he got the virus, and so he missed
he got the COVID.
Training camps. Yeah, and then he had another reason why he had to leave. I think it was a personal reason he had to leave, so he had to be quarantined again. And he's been a DNP for most of these playoffs, just because he's kind of out of shape.
Well, I will admit freely that I need to get back more into my NBA stuff. I do, but I mean that's cool. I mean, you know what? If he's that much of a talent, hopefully he can rise to the occasion. But losing Dragic, man, that's a big deal. I do know about that guy. That guy's he's pretty good. He's one of those guys that he may not be your star, but he's the guy that makes your star even better.
Yeah, he's definitely played really great in these playoffs and has been one of the big reasons why the Heat have made it this far. Also, Tyler Hero has exploded onto the scene. Wow, they had Miles Leonard starting last night. He hasn't played in a hot minute for them. I've got the box score from the last game.
Gotcha.
And kind of going through it a little bit. But yeah, I think the Heat totally have a chance to even this up. It's all going to depend on the two people that it's always going to depend upon the series is AD and LeBron.
Yeah. I agree with you on your stance. It's Lakers in 6. I agree wholeheartedly. Those injuries are just going to be too much. And this is Swamp Thing's first bit of real deep postseason. So he's still learning the ropes. Granted, it's AD's also, but AD has LeBron and he has Rajon Rondo. He's got two guys that know what it's like to be in this situation. So he's definitely going to be able to benefit from that experience. I've got Lakers in 6. Um, but I learning from this, and Jimmy Jam and Swamp Thing are going to be back in the next season, and they're going to probably be right back in this area because now they had to beat Milwaukee to get to this point.
Oh
Right?
yeah, they killed Milwaukee. I think it was 4-1.
Yeah. So
Or
I
I think they lost the game in overtime. I think that's right. Yeah.
yeah. So I definitely see Miami as being the team in the East. Do you think that Doc Rivers going to Philly, do you think that's going to make things difficult for the Heat next year?
I don't think so. Just because Doc has had trouble getting it done, and he's had really great players, some really great teams with the Clippers. I mean, he couldn't win with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. Though couldn't win with that group. They got rid of most of them. He brings in Kawhi coming off a championship, and he's got Paul George. And he's arguably has the deepest and best team in the league, and they end up blowing a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, which is the third time that a team of his has blown a 3-1 lead in the playoffs. So it was time for the Clippers to move on for them. But I don't think that the Simmons and Embiid duo is going to work because Embiid, even though he shoots a lot of threes, is not good enough of a 3-point shooter to be a stretch 5. He's better when Simmons is out with an injury. That's when we see Embiid start going on these 30-point, 17 rebound, 5-6 assists like tears, and it'll be like 5 or 6 games where Embiid looks like the best big in the league, and then Embiid goes out, and then Simmons comes in, and he looks like the greatest guard in the league because everyone else just kind of sits on the perimeter, and they're decent enough shooting, which since JJ Redick left, they don't have like that 3-point weapon to that is going to really clear out the lane. But it's clear enough to where Ben Simmons can drive the lane, kick out, or he can work in the post on smaller defenders, which is where he thrives at. And
Right.
you cannot survive in today's NBA with having a point guard and a big who can really only stay on the block. There's just room really which is kind of sad because traditionalist. I love classic, feed the big man and let him work down low. As much as I, appreciate the 3-point shot. Again, 5'8" point guard here in high school. I don't see that tandem working together, and I know there's been some rumors about them trading Ben Simmons to the Wolves to get the number 1 overall pick so they can draft LaMelo. I forget the guy's name who tweeted that out, but there's just some rumors there about that.
But would you want that? Would you want that presence on your team? Would you want the ball presence on your team?
No, not really. Even if LaMelo does look like a promising prospect, but he comes with a lot of baggage. And Doc, who knows? Doc may be like the type of coach that can handle that. Although I think Doc kind of lets his players have too much of a leash. He doesn't ring them in.
He's a Mike Tomlin type sometimes. He's a Mike Tomlin type.
Yeah. because he talked about because they were losing. They lost 3 games in a row to the Nuggets, and going into a game 7 where they've gotten their asses kicked by the Nuggets the previous 2 games. He's like, I don't give rah-rah speeches. Those are only in the movies. Those never happen in real life. Well, that team could have used a rah-rah speech,
Oh yeah.
especially at halftime of that game, because then they got ran out the gym with the the Nuggets. So I just don't envision it working. I see Boston being more of a problem, and I think their youth just showed recently, but I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to be a great duo. Kemba Walker didn't have that great of a postseason run. Marcus Smart was honestly like one of the best players out there. He started hitting threes at an ungodly rate, and I never knew that he could hit threes. Like anytime he was going like 4 for 6 from threes, and I kept hitting up Trey. I'm like, when did this man learn how to shoot this? I don't watch every Boston Celtic game. You do. Tell me, when did he become an elite 3-point shooter?
Marcus Smart, when I lived in the New England area for about 10 years, and so I was there when they drafted him, and he had some decent skills. I'd listen to some Celtic games on the radio, and they'd herald him pretty good. But I think that you're right. He's coming into his own. You figure Kevin Durant's going to be back.
Yeah,
with Brooklyn, and
it's going to be tough.
I think that's going to be a tough team as well. So the Heat's going to have the Heat's really going to have to, even if they lose tonight. I heard someone say in a movie, it was actually in Teen Wolf, at the very beginning when the coach, the Teen Wolf's coach, Scott Howard's coach, Coach Finsock, wants to call the game because they're getting beat 71-12. And he goes, "Hey, I figure if we quit now, we could beat the traffic." And the coach looks at him and goes, "There's a lot to learn from losing." And it's true, So I think that if the Heat, when the Heat lose this series, they're just going to be a much more dangerous team because they've granted, I don't know everything there is to know about it. I will be brushing up as we continue to talk about this, but the team just seems to complement each other so well. Jimmy Butler put this team on his back and carried them. Swamp Thing is definitely a huge part of this team.
Mm-hmm.
I even know the guy's name. That the guy's the truth if I know who he is at this point. So, and the role players complement the stars just well. So, even if they drop this, barring something huge happening in the offseason, they're going to be back. And LeBron's not. It's going to be, if these two teams meet again in the finals next season, it's going to be different. It's going to be a hell of a lot different. It's going to go to a game 7.
Yeah, and the big thing, especially with the Heat, if Butler can stay at a high level, and if Hero can continue to grow, and if Swamp Thing, obviously they're going to have to pay him eventually, but they're eventually going to be done. I know Kelly Olynyk and who is it? Who am I looking for here? Kelly Olynyk, and there's one other person. Iggy got a big contract extension. But anyway, they kind of clear out. Oh yeah, Miles Leonard, and Dragic. All of those contracts will be up by not Iggy's, but the other contracts are fairly big contracts, and they'll all be done by the 2021 offseason. And the 2021 offseason, barring any major signings or trades or in extensions, that's the one that's got Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron, Paul George. All those guys are free agents.
Are you calling for LeBron to go back to South Beach?
I'm not calling for LeBron to go back to South Beach. That'd be interesting. I think he ends up finishing his career with the Lakers, regardless if there's a championship.
I think so too.
But there are some major players, and even below them, not superstar level players, but still some really good players that are going to be available. That's going to be the one, because that's the free agency that I'm baking on the Grizzlies to make a splash, because they'll have
they'll have the money.
Yeah, they'll have the money. They'll have enough money for a max contract, or
Yeah,
at least a guy or if they pick up the option for Justice Winslow, who they traded to Miami for dealing off Iggy. Even if they pick up his team option, they're still in the mid-20s where you can get a really solid player at that moment. But 2021. free agency is going to determine the future of this Miami team.
Now, was jumping back to your Grizzlies, was Marc Gasol's contract still something that they've been dealing with? If that's part of the issue they've been having, because I know they paid him a ton of money at one point.
Yeah, they did, but he's done now. He's going to be a free agent, but rumors are pointing towards him returning home to Spain, so that way he can finish out his career. Like him and his brother Pau may be going back over to Spain and playing for Barcelona and then finish their careers.
Hey, that's not even really a downgrade, man, because European ball is huge.
No, exactly. And Mark and Pau are the two reasons why Barcelona have been extremely competitive in the World Cup and in FIBA. But the big thing that hurt us was Chandler Parsons. His contract.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I come up on Chandler Parsons in 2K, I'm like, who the hell gave this guy this money?
Wallace did, our former GM, he had a fate worse than death. What happened to him was he did not get fired and he found another job somewhere else. He was our general manager and president of basketball operations. He got demoted. So he is still a part of the Grizzlies organization, but he got demoted.
Damn. I was the man.
Exactly. That's why it's worse than death. It's worse than being fired. At least if you get fired, you can go to a brand new organization and help build something there, even if you're not the guy.
Right.
Now, you are with the organization that you spent over 10 years as the guy.
And you just got demoted.
And then you see two dudes rise up above you, and they have two seasons, or really just one season of greatness, of good trades, and obviously some luck in the draft and landing Ja Morant. And then all of a sudden they are hailed as the saviors by Grizzlies Twitter, and you have to live with that.
That guy's a beast too. And what's funny is when I go on 2K, I'll play like the My Career, but I'll also do a I like to pick up the an expansion team. Mm-hmm. And every time I do an expansion team, right, they're always like, it's like the last couple of games of 2K that I played, it's almost like, please take Chandler Parsons. We'll do anything. Just take him. It's like, he's not worth anywhere near that much money. This guy's like a moderately better Chris Humphries at best. He had like what, 1 or 2 good seasons in Dallas, and then he just gets max contract.
Yep, pretty much. And I mean, he hardly played for us. I think I probably played more games for the Grizzlies than he did. He suited up a couple times.
J-Law, man, throwing haymakers. You've been throwing haymakers for the last hour plus. Oh, man.
That's what I do.
Hey, I'm all for it.
If I like you, you're going to get my praise and my understanding. If I don't like you, I just don't like you.
Fair enough. All right, guys, so we're just about to the end of this. We're just about at the end of the first show. J-Law, what do you have? What's some of the games that you're looking at for this weekend coming up? Anything major on your radar?
Let me take a quick.
I'm going to do the same. I'm actually going to do the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah, so for the NFL, just to kind of start there, it's going to be interesting. It's not necessarily a big game, but I just want to know what's going to happen with the Dallas Cowboys, because they've been awful. They've been absolutely horrendous. And they play the Giants, so they should have an easy win. But I'm curious to see how close the Giants can keep it. Because if the Giants are able to keep it close, because the Cowboys offense has been kicking really good. It's just their defense has been trash. As far as in college, real quickly, shout out to my Arkansas Razorbacks. I live in Arkansas. I am a closet Razorback fan, because let me tell you, it has been no fun to be a Razorback fan in the SEC. It was brought up about 100 times by the announcers, and probably the worst televised experience I've ever had in watching TV. And I still remember basic cable. Arkansas pulled out a win. It was their first SEC win. It was like 1,071 days, something like that. It was like 2017.
Damn.
But
that's crazy.
Let me look at the coming week. Again, you can see how totally prepared we were for this.
Yeah, the preparation wasn't there. We're definitely going to get this better next. Mm-hmm. We're going to have this better for next week.
Okay.
We do our recaps.
I do have a game real quickly in college that I am definitely going to have to watch, and it is the Tennessee and Georgia game. They're two of the last four, I think, undefeated teams in the SEC. Tennessee's ranked number 14. Georgia's ranked number 3. Georgia's looked really good, especially after that Auburn win, which Auburn has former Arkansas head coach Chad Morris, who we just fired recently, as their offensive coordinator. So best of luck to Auburn. You are getting that Chad Morris genius that got you 6 points against Georgia. So congratulations to that. But that looks like it's going to be the big game of the week. The week there. It's actually kind of like, especially in the NFL, kind of a down weekend. Because there's
so much that we don't know what's going to go on. Like what games are going to be canceled and blah blah blah. I mean, it's crazy.
And like the Bills and Titans, like, you don't know what's going to happen there because you don't know.
I don't think the Titans are going to be playing this weekend. I think that game's going to end up getting.
And even if they do, even if they postpone it to like a Monday or a Tuesday, they won't have a full week to prepare like the Bills will.
Right.
Wednesday is like the soonest, I think, that there's.
Yeah, I think Wednesday. I think from what I heard on the news is that Wednesday is the earliest that they're going to be able to resume football operations, but there can't be any new COVID tests. There can't be any new positives.
And they've had no new positives for like the past 2 days, so that's good news. But we don't know, or at least I haven't seen anything about who are the players that have gotten sick. Like, are they just bench guys, or are they, more, just like holes that can be filled, or is it Derrick Henry? Is Derrick Henry down?
Right.
He's going to be out for 2 weeks if that's him.
Exactly. Just like, the Patriots just got spanked by the Chiefs. They're not going to have their starting quarterback for another game.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right about that. For me in the NFL, obviously my eyes are going to be on my Pittsburgh Steelers playing our in-state rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, who Carson Wentz, man. What's up with your boy, J-Law? Boy.
That's not my boy. That's Chad's boy.
He damn sure ain't my boy. I tell you what, Philly, if I didn't hate Philly so much because I'm Pittsburgh, I'd feel terrible for Philly. Like,
I do feel terrible. I feel bad for Carson Wentz because I think, and I talked about this with Chad on his podcast, The Lead Word, and we talked about it a little bit because it's his podcast, so he'll go on his weekly complaint about the Eagles. That's one of the talking points, and then we move on with the rest of the NFL. But we both kind of agreed that management and coaching have done him no favors. He has no offensive line whatsoever, so I don't blame him. He's running for his life back there, and he's gonna have that. And because he's running for his life, because he's scared, because he knows that defense is coming, he knows he's only got 2-3 seconds to get rid of the ball, and they're not throwing the ball deep. They're supposed to have all these speedy guys, so there's no place for him to run it deep. So he's just got to get rid of it. He's got to chunk it, and he's going to make bad throws, and bad throws are going to get intercepted.
Yeah, so, and he's in a bad situation because you got T.J. Watt, you got Bud Dupree, you got Devin Bush, and then you got Steven Nelson, Joe Hayden in that defensive backfield, and your man Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
it's going to be a bad day for.
Yeah, I was sad when Minka got traded. That was awful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, you guys got to get Tua and a couple of other folks in the first round, so I mean I think it worked out just fine.
Yeah, I still like Minka though. He's
Minka's a beast.
He is. What was it, like his first game in Pittsburgh? He had a big interception close to the end of the game that
Yep.
pretty much sealed the win. Yeah,
Yeah.
he instantly won that trade.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like I think the Steelers definitely got that. I also do. I hate to toot my own horn and to keep like promoting my own stuff, but I'm here. I got the platform. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because I also do a weekly like betting lines and predictions. So over under whatever for the NFL, and I think the Steelers crushed the over on this one just because Washington is not a great team and as underrated I think their defense is. They're still not a great team, and they beat the living hell out of Carson Wentz. The Steelers have a much better team and a much better defense. And I'm scared for Carson Wentz's life. I may have to, like, for Chad's sake, because I don't want to see a buddy of mine, like fall off the deep end, me never hear from him again, and him fall into misery and despair. I may have to start doing some like voodoo chants or some weird like cast protection over Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I agree because Big Ben, man, he's playing like he's a kid again. James Conner coming into the 5th game of the season and he hasn't been hurt yet, and that's huge because I was starting to say, man, Connor's made of glass, man. He can't hack it. Benny Snell, we're gonna need him. No, we still got James Conner, and then Chase Claypool. Oh my God, this kid. Oh my God, this kid is outstanding. But also, so that's my main game for the NFL this weekend. But I'm also going to have my eyes on Vegas, Kansas City. I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes guy. Love this guy to death. He's probably my favorite player in the NFL right now at the quarterback position. He's the future. He's the future at that position. But Vegas has been playing with some swag. The Raiders.
I'm still not a huge believer in that defense, but they find ways to pull out wins. I never understand how, and it doesn't help that they are in a really really tough division.
Yeah.
But right now is like their best chance to try to snag a playoff spot because the Chargers. I keep wanting to call them San Diego. I still haven't gotten used to the fact that
they're still San Diego.
I'm starting to call the Raiders the Las Vegas Raiders quicker than I am calling the Chargers the Los Angeles Chargers
because they don't belong in
LA. They don't belong there.
We're so used to the Raiders moving everywhere that it just works.
You call them the Raiders. You don't even call them by their city name.
No,
you just call them the Raiders.
The Raiders. But you know what? I do have my eyes on our Thursday night game, Chicago and Tampa Bay. Khalil Mack's a stud. Is Tom Brady gonna, is the offensive line gonna be able to protect Tom Brady from the Khalil Mack? I'm not worried about Mitch Trubisky. He's not gonna hurt this Tampa Bay defense.
He's not even starting right now.
I mean, I'm sorry, Nick Foles. Nick Foles is starting, right?
Yeah, Nick Foles is.
Do we have? Yeah, so
he's 100% their starter because he started last game, and right. I think the job is 100% his until future notice.
All right, so I think this is going to be a pretty decent game. I think Nick Foles some more to. But Khalil Mack, man, it's a bad man. That's a bad man. As far as in college, I'm actually looking at Alabama, Ole Miss. Ole Miss squeaked out the upset this past weekend. I think they're going to be and the Crimson Tide's going to be coming in, and when number one you just got a huge upset victory this last week. Now you got the Tide coming in. This is going to be a battle. So
yeah, and Alabama has looked as sharp as ever in these first 2 weeks. They got some great players. That is definitely going to be a fun game. And just because I've already admitted it, might as well run with it. Arkansas against Auburn. Our defense has been really great. It's been one of the top defenses, even with giving up over 30 to Georgia. But we're going up against a Chad Morris offense, so I have faith that we'll at least keep it close.
Fair enough. All right, guys, that's going to just about do it. And of course, we've already picked. We've got the Lakers in 6. That's the duo over there. That we've got that. So tune in next week where we're going to be a little bit better prepared. And who knows? Maybe we'll actually have some points of contention. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, J Law, I will see you next week. And to you guys, thanks for viewing. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe. You know what to do at this point. I'm probably the only newbie to this thing, so you guys know what to do. Leave your feedback in the comments. If you're an asshole, Jess might read them and slam you during the show. You never know. So take care, guys. Have a good week.